Welcome to today's deep dive. We're getting into, well, basically a late summer gardening rescue operation today based on our source text.
Yeah, it's a really fun scenario because, usually gardening calendars feel like these incredibly strict train schedules, right?
Right, exactly. Like if you miss that early spring departure, conventional wisdom says you're just stuck on the platform until next year.
But our source dives into this exact dilemma. Imagine it's July, you have zero plants, and you suddenly decide, hey, I want backyard tomatoes.
Which is traditionally a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But there's this guy named Gunnar in the text facing this exact problem. And he gets help from Kesser and Steen, these two guys from a nature and innovation class.
And since Gunnar is starting halfway through the year, Kesser and Steen tell him to just throw the standard timelines completely out the window.
Because normally, tomatoes take like 8 to 12 weeks from planting to harvest?
Exactly, yeah. And that is heavily dependent on having consistent summer warmth. So they immediately pivot Gunnar away from those big, heavy beefsteak tomatoes.
Right, they switch them to cherry tomatoes, which makes sense. I mean, they ripen way faster, so you compress that whole growth window.
Yeah, bypassing the seed stage and just grabbing semi-grown cherry tomatoes in July is kind of the standard cheat code here.
It's like skipping the tutorial level in a video game to just, save time.
That's a good way to put it. But even with the fast-ripening cherry tomatoes, you're still in a physical race against the autumn frost.
Right, because once temperatures drop below 10 degrees Celsius, I think the text said.
Yeah, 10 degrees. At that point, plant growth basically halts entirely. And worse, that damp cold is like a magnet for diseases.
Like potato blight, right.
Exactly. So to get around this unpredictable climate, Kesser and Steen tell Gunnar to change the environment itself.
By planting them in buckets.
Big ones, yeah. Large 10 to 15-liter movable buckets with really good drainage. It's essentially mobile thermal regulation.
Oh, so the moment a cold snap hits in the fall, you don't just lose the crop, you just physically pick up the buckets and carry them indoors to a sunroom.
You got it. Mobility keeps them alive.
But wait, buying a bunch of semi-grown tomato plants late in the season, that's got to get pretty expensive, right?
It definitely can. And that is where Kesser and Steen pull out this brilliant, totally free workaround.
Okay, yes, this was the craziest part of the text for me.
Right. They use their own surplus plants that they've been growing in this homemade seaweed compost.
And they don't even give him whole plants. They tell Gunnar to just thin out older plants, snip off the side shoots, and just throw them in a glass of water.
Yeah, to make brand new clones.
But how does that even work? I mean, I push back on this a little because if you chop a limb off almost any living thing and submerge it in water, it just rots.
It does sound like a biological glitch, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But it comes down to cellular programming.
Okay, walk me through the biology here because the sketch in the source literally just shows a leafy stem sitting in a glass jar.
So it's all about adventitious roots. When you take a tomato side shoot, they call them suckers, and submerge that cut stem in constant moisture, it triggers a massive spike in a plant hormone called auxin.
Ox?
Yeah, auxin. And this hormone signals the undifferentiated cells in the stem wall to rapidly change their identity. They literally stop being stem cells and transform into root tissue just to survive.
Wow. But okay, if I'm relying on this in July, wouldn't growing a brand new root system from scratch take weeks?
You would think so.
Because that puts me right back into the freezing autumn problem that we just solved with the buckets.
But the auxin response in tomatoes is incredibly aggressive. Tiny white root tips will literally punch through the stem in just 1 week.
1 week? That's insane.
And by week 2, that single cutting has a robust, fully functional root network. It's totally ready for nutrient-rich soil.
So 2 weeks from a severed branch to a functional plant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually the exact same biological reflex that lets you take a tall, leggy tomato plant and bury half its main stem deep in the dirt when you repot it.
Oh, because the buried stem senses the moisture in the soil, the auxin spikes, and it shoots out extra roots?
Yes, for extra structural stability. It's brilliant.
It really is. It completely upends the whole idea of a rigid gardening calendar for you.
It really does. By leveraging fast-ripening cherry varieties, portable buckets to outrun the frost, and this crazy rapid water cloning trick, you're effectively cheating the timeline.
You can just bend time and rescue your garden.
And it reframes how we view plants entirely, They aren't just these static objects waiting for the seasons. They are highly adaptable, regenerative systems.
Which leaves a pretty wild thought on the table for you listening right now. If a tomato plant can rapidly clone an exact copy of itself from a single severed stem just sitting in a jar of water.
What else can do it?
Exactly. What other common vegetables sitting in your kitchen right now secretly possess this exact same regenerative superpower? Definitely something to think about the next time you're chopping up a salad.